on today's episode of the Finish Line with myself, Richmond Webb, and Mr. BallGame. We got a lot to talk about, including has Tua's play since his return started to silence the chatter around drafting a quarterback in the first two rounds as a contingency option for the Miami Dolphins? We will talk about that. Has Anthony Weaver's defense become the Achilles heel to this team, or are the injuries just too much to overcome? Plus, we'll talk about Chop Robinson, a few roster moves, and much more. Do me the favor, smash the like button, subscribe if you're new, and let's get into this.
Touchdown! You have got to be kidding me. Jalen Waddle has a Dolphin touchdown. And he will score! Deep upfield on the near side, man open, touchdown! The run from Tua Tagovailoa. Touchdown! He's going deep. He's got him for a touchdown again! Touchdown!
Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan. Let's go!
All right, huddle up, huddle up. We're going to crank these engines up on one. All right? Wait, 80. Wait, 80, set. Drivers, start your engines.
This is the Finish Line.
I coached some great offensive linemen in the past. Larry Little, Dwight Stevenson, Jim Langer, all Hall of Famers, and Richmond Webb belongs to that same group.
Here are your hosts, legendary Miami Dolphins left tackle Richmond Webb, Reason, and Mr. BallGame.
What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason. We're back here for another one as we welcome you all to the Finish Line. It's me, myself, and I, along with Richmond Webb and Mr. BallGame. Gentlemen, I mean, it's becoming just a broken record at this point. You know, we're not meeting here under victory circumstances. It's constantly victim of a loss circumstances. Another tough one, 2 weeks in a row, where the Dolphins lose on a field goal within the final minute of the game. And this one felt even more preventable, if not for a Jordan Poyer penalty. And, Matt Collins spotting the ball after a catch and not getting penalized for either a delay of game or a 10-second runoff. This one felt a little bit more avoidable. And this one, we all wanted a lot more than we wanted the Arizona win. How are you guys feeling coming off a loss where not very many losses when you're 2-6 have silver linings, but for some reason, this loss does have a lot more silver linings to this fan base than recent losses?
Yeah. Good evening, everybody. Yeah, this one we lost, but man, I didn't feel as bad as I normally do. I think the way they approached the game, I mean, I think we like you said, we were in the game until the end of the game, and I think the way the game ended, Buffalo knew not to leave us enough time to even try to have an opportunity to put a drive together. So typically when we go to Buffalo, we normally don't play that well, and it's been a shootout the last couple of times. So I definitely think it was a winnable game. Defensively, we could have played better, but I love the way that McDaniel stuck with the running game and just it wasn't just trying to force throw. It was just more balanced or gave them an opportunity to run the football, and that's something we have been doing pretty well, and rotating the backs and this and that. So I was happy in that aspect. Never happy about losing, but it just didn't feel like some of the other weeks where we just really underperformed this and that. I thought they did that, but like you said, it's still tough when you got 5-6 losses and you're basically out of almost contention because you almost got to run the table with no mistakes, and that's tough sometime in this league. And not saying it can't be done, but I know it's very, very tough. But if they continue to go out there and play and execute like that on a consistent basis, even if we don't make the playoffs, I think people won't be as upset. Guys are not just throwing in a towel and say, let's just go for the highest draft pick and, throw it in. I don't think anybody wants to see that. So I felt I wasn't happy that we lost, but it was a different feeling. I don't know if I can explain the right way, but I felt much better than I did the week before when we lost to Arizona Cardinals. So
just so you know, Richmond, only 3 teams in NFL history have started 2-6 and made the playoffs. The Jaguars in 2022, the Commanders in 2020, the Bengals in 1970. The Bengals finished 8-6 in 1970. The Commanders finished 7-9, and the Jags finished 9-8. All 3 made the playoffs. But you know why they made the playoffs? They won their division. They didn't make the playoffs as a wild card. No team has started 2-6 and made the playoffs as a wild card.
Yeah, I can remember in the 90s. I think it was. Well, I know the team. It was the Chargers. I think they may have went 0-5 and end up going to the Super Bowl, and they lost to the 49ers. They went on maybe 11 games straight win. Something. They went on a nice little run. So yeah, it's like
possible,
you said,
but it's rare.
It's very rare. So that's what I'm saying. You can still finish, play with pride and finish the season, even if you don't make it. But it's at least something to look forward going into next year and say, that's the way you got to almost kind of look at it, because we can't blame anybody but ourselves. I mean, we dug this hole. So you just got to live with it. That's it. How you doing, Mr. BallGame?
I'm good, man. At this point, you know what? I took the emotions out of it. Looked at the game for what it was. They did a masterful job in the last drive of keeping the ball away from us. We didn't help ourselves with the penalty, nor so the lack of the refs being involved in spotting the ball themselves and allowing Mac, like Louison said, to do so. But overall, I didn't come away from the game feeling like that was the games of old. So for me at this point, it still frustrates me a bit that the defense was leaky when there were definite times where we could have got them off the field. When like we said, we turn around and shot ourselves in the foot and then get off, and that bites you. That will definitely always jump up and bite you. So I said earlier in the year, though, man, almost before the season even started, this team's got to learn how to win consistently and together and establish an identity. And until they do that, you're gonna have these type of games. But there's promise when you're in a game where the team has pretty much bludgeoned you, as damn near every opportunity they've had, and you can get it back to a space where you have them on their heels and you just don't put them away. It's a small victory, so you stack them up and you just keep pushing. And I'm hoping that that's something that he's putting in his speech to them to keep them motivated to go out every week and play. It's gonna be one hell of a journey or one hell of a task ahead of us, but it's one game at a time now for certain. If they fall short, then like Richmond said, they don't have anybody to blame but themselves, because they've had 3 games that I know of that were winnable games that they could have, could have pulled out to not even be in this position that they are now. So it is what it is. And it could be, we could be, what are we, 2-5?
2-6.
6. So you take those 3. You read at what?
You basically have the margin of error of one more loss.
No more loss. Yeah.
One more loss is what you're basically allowed, because 9-8 ain't making it.
Right.
And one more loss would fit. You got to go 8-1 basically. You got to finish 10-7.
10-7. Right. So I'm I'm watching games on Sundays now, just as an avid lover of football. And that's a little bit easier for me to process the game and break down things and see things from a different perspective, as opposed to thinking that we had a real shot to do something in the postseason. Now I can just look at all the game and then just write my little notes and think about things that they can get tweaked in the off season, or players that they can bring in and fix the deficiency and stuff like that. So
How disappointing is it though that like you listen to what, and he's not wrong, but I mean you listen to what Richmond just said about basically playing out strong for pride. Just I don't know. It's like, are you surprised these guys didn't sell at the deadline when you got guys like Calais Campbell and Taron Armstead who might be playing their last year?
Go ahead, BallGame.
Talking to me?
I'm talking to both of you.
Okay, no, I was sitting here. I'm so sorry, bro. Somebody just hit me with a tweet. Is it a tweet they call it now, or is it just a message? So it had me all messed up. This guy said, yeah. So I really wasn't listening. I ain't gonna lie to you. He kind of threw me off what he sent to me. So.
Well, I'll just go since he was going back. I think if that was going to happen, it would have happened. It's kind of good that I think it didn't happen because, you look at it. Those like Campbell, I thought he's been playing pretty well all season. He's been playing pretty consistent. And I think that's a decision you got to make. Is it the players? Is it the staff? What changes need to be made? And I'm sure there is an evaluation process, not only on the players, but the coaching staff, some of the scouting or people that's, selecting who we bring in, this and that. So I think everybody's under the microscope. It didn't happen now, but if it doesn't improve, definitely after the season, I could definitely see, we having like a fire sale or whatever and just saying, hey, let's get this off, and almost go to like a rebuild or whatever. I don't know. You always got to kind of consider how it's going to, affect the cap and this and that, and based on your decisions. But I didn't get that feeling. At least I hadn't heard a lot. I knew it was a possibility, but I think the way that they played Sunday possibly gave some hope. I'm just hoping they consistently get back on track and play like that every game, and then not just one side of the ball, but if we play that way on both sides, I think it's not going to fix that if we don't make the playoffs. It's not going to fix that. But at least people can say, hey, we're competitive, this and that. And you almost got to look at next year because, like you say, you got to go, 8-1 or something like that. That's a tall order. I was talking before the show, and Kansas City was at home, and Tampa Bay had an opportunity to win that game. They took them over to overtime. So in the NFL, it's any given Sunday, any team can get up, and if they get in a rhythm or a roll, you can lose a game, even though you're playing halfway decent. So that's why I say, man, you got to play for pride. I just don't see guys just laying down and saying, hey, man, let me just get my check. It doesn't matter to me, this and that. If you approach it that way, it's time to get out the game because typically you'll probably end up getting hurt or whatever. It's just nothing typically comes good from that. So, that's just my take on it.
Well, to be honest with you, I think across the board, when you think about what's on this team in terms of personnel and what they're capable of if they all play together, there's going to be that expectation that this team can still possibly make a run at some point. Now, things are going to look completely different next year, right? Because some of these guys probably won't be here. Some of these guys be done moved on and retired and all that type of stuff. But the front office now has to start the plan of how they're going to fix and fill the holes, and at the same time keep the same level of intensity in terms of what the objective is in front of these guys, because most of these cats can't. Well, hell, none of them technically can afford to go out and not play. to the best of their ability because they all, some of these guys are only on 1-year deals. They're working for, what I'm saying, their next contract. So, we might see some competitive football, but that just might be just like, unfortunately, a little too late in the process, and that's going to be the most frustrating part because if they were to go, say they would go 7-2, that's going to sting. That's gonna be hard to swallow. That's gonna be hard to swallow, man. And then you'd be like, oh Lord, here we go with having to go through the whole process of doing a whole roster evaluation all over again and figuring out what they need and who's the best tight end in the draft because we need one. We definitely need a young one, a real one. You know what I'm saying? Is Loveland coming out?
Bro.
You know what I mean? Like
if they would have got my boy Brock Bowers.
You know what I'm saying?
Look how good that guy is in Las Vegas right now, man.
Yeah.
He's a freaking monster.
Maybe they should go get Meyer.
Michael Meyer?
Yeah.
Brock Bowers already like the best tight end in football though right now. It's crazy. Like year one.
Yeah,
crazy.
He was balling in college. Yeah, he's a beast.
Oh, he's a beast. And he's just gonna become a better blocker and everything like that too. So
we made McBride look like an all pro. He had over 100 yards on us. The Cardinals tight end. So
Knight says, have you heard why Chop got benched after halftime? Well, his sack came on the last drive, so I don't know what. I didn't know he got benched.
I saw him rotating him out because he was dealing with a little bit of a shoulder thing, but he got past that. But
what do you think of Chop's game? He's been getting better and better and
better.
It.
Eh? I like it. That
and he finally drew a flag for a hold that he's been held the last couple of weeks multiple times. He finally drew a flag against Deion Dawkins. That sack in a clutch moment. Now I know he took the neutral zone infraction right after that, but man, Poyer's penalty is what killed us on that drive, not Chop Robinson neutral zone. And we'll talk about the defense in a bit here. But Knight also says, and he's right here, the schedule coming up at least gives us a chance. Gives us a chance at what, Knight? Are you talking about playoffs?
Redemption?
Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
Okay. But he is right, and he does have a good point here because the remaining strength of schedule, the Dolphins actually have the easiest. Their remaining opponents have a combined .405 win percentage. We have the easiest remaining strength of schedule in the AFC and the second easiest in football right now.
How bad they want it.
Well, hey, they're supposed to be bad teams. The Jets are a bad team. I don't care who they went out and traded for. Yeah. Okay? The Jets are a bad team right now.
Stay down to their level, for sure.
Hey, sophomore slump's real for that boy CJ Stroud this year, huh?
Yep.
Well, they got a tougher schedule, but I was just thinking.
It looks tougher and more daunting in the preseason when we expected Cleveland to be good and we had to go into Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The Packers and the Niners look like the hardest games we have left.
I thought the Texans were going to be tougher too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why it stings. Like BallGame said, if we go 7-2 and you miss it, and then you go back and you reflect, like he said earlier, it's 3 games we possibly could have won. I think that's the struggle you have is saying 7-2 on the back end is not a bad record, but then you look at it and say, well, we stunk it up so bad on the front half of the season.
Yeah.
And you'd be like, man, if we won just those 3 games, we would.
Yeah.
It's just that's what
I have a feeling we're going to look back at the Colts and Arizona Cardinals game as that's what screwed us.
Yep.
We should have won the Colts game and we should have won the Cardinals game.
Yep. I agree. Yep.
And you know what's crazy? And we're going to get into the defense here. 3rd and 4 last week against the Cardinals. Kyler Murray, 3rd and 4 on that last drive. Remember, he converted the 3rd and 4 with the run, and then they drained out the clock and kicked the field. Who's got him squared up in space, ready to take him down? Marcus May whiffs on the tackle. This week, Marcus May, open field. This guy had 15 yards to get ready for Ray Davis on that 63-yard catch and score, and he fucking whiffs on that tackle. Then, if you go look at it, do you remember that play where Josh Allen looked like he was going to get sacked and then moved up and made the 2-yard throw for the touchdown? who had him squared up again. Dead to
Marcus
Ogba stopped moving because he thought May had him dead to rights.
Right.
May whiffed again. No, that's what's crazy. Listen, Greer knocked Aaron Brewer out of the park, knocked Jordan Brooks out of the park, knocked Calais Campbell out of the park, knocked Kendall Fuller out of the park. But the two whiffs, May and Poyer, have been so bad, and they're costing us legitimate points.
Right.
And this brings me to my next question for you guys, and I'll let a ball game go first. Is the defense, and let me set you up here, is the defense becoming an Achilles heel for the Dolphins right now, or is it just too many injuries to overcome? Now, heading into the Cardinals game, they were number 4 in total defense, okay? Now, they are number 7. They were the number 1 passing defense, allowing 154.5 yards per game. Now, number 4, they've dropped 3 spots in 2 weeks. Rushing defense, they've gone up from 17 heading into the Cardinals game to now we're 13th best heading into this game. But scoring defense, we've dropped from 14th overall to 17th overall. Sacks, we remain at 30th in the NFL with 10. But here's a big one, too, not a lot of people are talking about. We dropped from the number 1 third down offense heading into that Cardinals game. Now we are the 6th. And we are 27. We were 5th in takeaways. We're now 27th because we only have 6. And I'll give you more evidence. The last 2 weeks, they allowed 254 yards against Arizona in the second half. This week, they allowed 231. Okay? Last week, they allowed 19 points in the second half. This week, if you do the math, they allowed 24. You know what's even worse? And this is what stands out. And I know you're a defensive guy, and I know you're a defense coordinator. I don't know how you wouldn't blow a gasket if your team did this. Do you realize we didn't have a stop since over 11 minutes were remaining in the second quarter with that interception from Jalen Ramsey? Do the math, boys. We went over 41 minutes without a defensive stop in a 60-minute ball game. And you got guys like Chris Perkins out here trying to say the offense isn't special enough and the offense didn't do enough. Are you kidding me right now? Kyle Krabs had a fantastic post, just absolutely obliterated everything he talked about. But, man, if you look at the Dolphins, man, the Dolphins were playing, the 13th best single game offensive performance against the Buffalo Bills in the entire Sean McDermott era, home or away, in 123 games. That's what the offense did. 123 games. That was the 13th best single game offensive performance.
And the defense let them down.
Tua Tagovailoa posted the 9th best single game adjusted EPA per play performance by any QB to play 10-plus snaps in a single game this season out of 293 qualifying quarterback performances through the end of Week 9. Shout out to Kyle Krabs. He's just obliterated Chris Perkins. Those are a few little points from that. Yeah. But what were your where are you guys at with the defense right now? And I'll start with you, BallGame, because defense is your baby.
Well, for me, it's just more frustration. Because you can see I can see conceptually what we would want to do, but it seems like there's still this space of uncertainty, and guys are moving still slow to execution, which is costing us because those seconds that they're waiting to react instead of just going is a difference in 2.5, 3 yards that the opponent gets in their upward movement upfield for the first down and things of that nature. And this game is always, I said it in the chat, in your chat on Sunday, this game is always and forever going to be a game of inches, right? And as long as the team has the ability to effectively move the chains, right, for first downs, they can keep you on the field. And even if they only get but 3. Your defense is tired, and then you go out there, and now you're pressed if you get behind for your offense to make something happen. And then if something unfortunately goes wrong on the offense or the offense can't get anything going, now that same tired defense is back out on the field again, getting wore down over and over again when they can't get stops. And I think he's aggressive in the wrong spots for me. You know what I'm saying? I think on first and second downs, we need to be overly aggressive and stopping the run and forcing teams to really be in long yardage, and then we can dial up even some exotics to send at them. I mean, at this point, you don't have anything to lose other than somebody blowing a coverage because playing it safe, guys are still picking up. You know what I'm saying? They still got all this time in the world because of the pass rush. You got to help the pass rush out. And those guys you sending for, but they playing patty cake and can't get there. Then what's the point in giving a quarterback 6 and a half, 7 seconds to find an open receiver after the secondary then broke down in coverage? Like, you know, from a defensive standpoint, you're asking your guys to perform the impossible, and that's never gonna happen, right? And I would have thought to some degree he would have made some changes to send more pressure at Josh to get him even more off of his off of where he was taking the snaps and standing in the pocket and things of that nature. But because he had some errant passes towards the end, but like, you know, at the end of the day, man, this team still lacks a defensive identity. I think the offensive one is intact with Tua back, but defensively they're still trying to sort some things out. And for me, it's all about alignment and assignment. Those are the first two things that you have to address on all fronts. And if you got a guy, no matter where he came from and you brought him, wherever you brought him from, if he's not doing the job, then find somebody else that can do it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? There's no particular reason why you couldn't go to, say, a lineup that has like an Ethan Bonner. Well, is Bonner healthy?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, Ethan Bonner on one side, Cam on the other, and then run with put Ramsey at safety.
Mm-hmm.
You feel me? He's played it before. You have an ultimate Swiss Army knife at your disposal, yet you're relegating him to doing jobs that don't necessarily even align him with who the other team's top target is. Often, not all the time. You know, feel me? And I don't get it, man. He should go wherever the number one goes. That's where he should go. That's what I'd be doing, because at that point, that's one less guy that I know I got to worry about, and the other 10 can work on eliminating everything else.
And look at last year, bro, in the playoffs. Kansas City walked into Buffalo and 27 points was enough for Patrick Mahomes to win. Why? Because that defense showed up in the fourth quarter and shut him out.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, your
complete
defense
team,
has
man.
to turn it on.
Yeah,
you know
that's
what I
complete
mean?
team.
Like,
Kansas City's showing you.
We're getting individual units working at different times, not every unit working together.
Right.
Like,
Kansas City shows you. You know what Kansas City reminds me of right now? Kansas City reminds me exactly of the Dallas Cowboys under Jimmy Johnson. You know why? Because they had a defense that could get you off and get it back to the offense, who was going to go down, and whether it was a field goal or a touchdown, they were going to score every drive, and they was going to put more pressure on you. And when you get the defense being able to get to a point where they know they're going to take your run game away from you because you behind in points, now them dogs they can bend their ears back and they can get after you. And that's what Kansas City does. They'll keep it close, but they're going to also keep punching you in the face, right? Patrick's going to be Patrick. He don't have to throw a lot, but they're going to still run the ball.
He only threw for 215
They're going to get the ball to Kelsey. They're going to find the open guys. They're going to
run the ball.
They're going to run the ball.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
and the special teams are going to be great.
When you look at it from an EPA per play perspective, that performance by the defense was the 20th, and again, out of 123 games, that was the 22nd worst defensive performance against a Sean McDermott coach team. The special teams was the 7th worst single game performance against the Buffalo Bills in the Sean McDermott era, because obviously, you know, Bailey's punt was terrible. We didn't get good returns, et cetera, right? You look at Tua from a passing play EPA total, wise, it was the second best single game total posted against the Sean McDermott defense during his entire tenure as head coach. Like, man, wasted performances. And on top of that, Richmond, the O-line was absolutely fantastic on Sunday. Yeah. Where are you at with this defense, man? Because, I mean, you sat there and been on some high-powered offenses. How would you be feeling watching 2 weeks in a row your defense, you know, collapsing worse than the World Trade Centers?
Yeah, I think part of it is injuries. Part of it is, I think, the last 2 weeks we played better teams. you compare these teams to like the Colts, where we had Richardson or whatever. He's not a guy that's going to throw the football. So it was a little bit easier to keep those passing numbers down. And even though we won at New England, we won like, what was it, 10 to 15? It was like really low. So you wasn't getting a lot of production out of that. But when you play more experienced quarterbacks or whatever that can actually move the ball and stuff like that on you and make plays, it's going to be tougher to defend them. But you shouldn't, like you said, what was it, 41 minutes from the second quarter that we wasn't able. Even if it is a good quarterback offensive, you normally don't get you're going to stop them at least, once during the third, once during the fourth quarter, for them to have that type of consistency and then dominate and just steamroll. It's like you'll never be able to do enough, because every time you go and make a score to either close or to get ahead, they're going to come right back and erase everything you did. So that's definitely a situation that you don't want to be in. But like BallGame, I was thinking about when he said, it looked like the guys are just hesitating a little bit. So I'm like, do you not really understand what the scheme of the defense is? Or are you not sure what you're doing? Because anytime there's hesitation, to me, it's either I don't know what I'm doing, or I'm not sure, or whatever. When you're sure and you know what you got to do, I'm not saying you're not going to miss a tackle, but you're going to be more assertive and you should be more aggressive, because like, okay, when I see this play, normally you watch film and when you see it come out there, you're like, no, I got it. And you'll just see some guys go and just blow it up. And I think that's something that's missing. And I think that's why BallGame keeps saying they don't have that identity, this and that. You'll see some guys, and not necessarily the Dolphins, but you just watch football. When they see it and click, they don't even second guess it. They just go beeline and just they're gonna blow it up. And I think that's something missing. So what do we have to do to get those guys comfortable? I don't know, but I am glad that Tua is back. I'm glad that we're consistently running the football. It's just we've got to get on the same page, defensively, where offense plays good, defense play, and that's when you have a chance to actually win some games and close some games out like you should. But when one is up here and one, it keeps flip-flopping like that, that's no good. So I think we're pretty close to getting on the same page and hopefully getting some guys back on defense that's been hurt and this and that. And like you said, I think the best thing with Chop Robinson, it was never his effort. It's just he's getting an opportunity to get those reps and you start getting the feel for it.
And what works and what doesn't work.
He keeps improving. So I'm looking forward to the second half with him. As long as he stays healthy, he's going to continue to get better. So I'm definitely happy for him.
Practice on it.
One thing that I did notice, because you were talking about finding guys who are basically acclimated to the defense and that you could trust and rely on. I thought the change of Anthony Walker starting over David Long Jr. was a positive for this defense. He looked David Long's a guy who's been missing gaps and just missing assignments, and he's looked lost at times. Anthony Walker looked pretty locked in for the most part.
Yeah. David Long was a liability because he would run head first into the wall and the wall be moving and he missed.
Yeah.
But Walker gonna take the read steps. You can see him. You can see it on film. He takes the read steps and he's gone to go business. Long just gone.
Yeah.
And teams study that and pick up on that too. Yeah.
Huh?
I say teams study that and pick up on it. Yeah.
They dangle the carrot in front of it.
Yeah, exactly. And you bite.
Yeah, and he bites. Yeah.
I don't think they'll bring him back. Like I don't think he's a fit. I don't think he's working out.
Won't miss him.
Yeah. We were talking about Tua there and how Tua had, the second best passing game total passing EPA in a game performance against the Bills in the McDermott era. Where are you guys at right now? We can all still agree we need a contingency plan, but are you kind of what side of the fence do you lean on? Is his play starting to silence the chatter in your mind about drafting a contingency plan in the first two rounds?
For me, I don't think you're going to ever silence the chatter. I think a lot of people, they look at games, and if we lose, they blame it on the quarterback, or he didn't play well, and that's not necessarily always the case. And then with Tua, the thing is, he could go out and finish the season. We missed the playoffs. He'll probably get blamed for some of that, even though he was out for like 4 games due to the concussion protocol. I think the thing that I don't really worry about the chatter, because I know football. I just know what I want to see from him is to continue to make smart decisions. And I did see him run in Buffalo, and I was like, slide. He did go head first.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bro, just do the things to keep you out of that situation, this and that. But reason for a contingency plan, what I would like to see is somebody they bring in that, if Tua is out, that kind of fits the same mold, that could run the same type of system that McDaniel, and I've heard you talk about it before, and I didn't really think about it. You can bring in other quarterbacks, but if they don't fit what you're actually trying to do, and I'm not saying they're going to be exactly a Tua clone, but they should be able to step in and run this offense.
Scheme fits matter, man.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's what we should be looking for, is a quality backup that if you need him to win 2 or 3 games to come in for that, I think that's what and we've been missing that, and we've been missing that in offense. Those are the type of decisions, I think, if we start making those there, to where, like even with the offensive line or whatever, that's when you become a more complete team, because if a guy gets injured, you're like, man, how do we disguise it to where,
the goal is to not miss a beat.
Yeah, it's just, that's the thing I think that we need to be, not so much that, but you hear people on social media, and we could run the table, and it's still going to be people saying we need another quarterback. Tua is not the answer, this and that. So I don't pay attention to that. He just needs to keep playing well and making those decisions. Don't put yourself in situations. Don't be going head first. Slide, get what you get, and then let the rest go where it is. But yeah, I don't think we need a first, second round pick, but we do need somebody behind him that fits this offensive scheme or whatever, that in the event that he's out, you bring in a quality backup to where, like you said, we've had Skylar Thompson for 3 years or something like that, and he really doesn't fit it. It needs to kind of fit like that. I guess that's what I'm saying. So, and I'm sure we can find a young quarterback out there like that.
Yeah, and all it does essentially is keep Tua sharp too. Like, you never want to be in a position. I don't care. I mean, people talk all the time about being comfortable, but you can be too comfortable at your job and then not take the necessary steps to continue perfecting your craft, especially if you don't have somebody right there on your heels pushing you. They need that. You know what I mean? And they got to address that. They got to address that too. They got to address a young tight end, a prospect that can actually go out and help, stretch the middle of the field. I like the fact that he's been actively getting the ball to Jonnu more, but we got to be able to finish those drives, and we can't get down inside the 20 and stop looking for the tight end. You feel me? Like those type of things, those things that Mike got to keep in his mind. Like, the tight end is going to always be open, because they got so much pressure worrying about where we're weak at and where Waddle at. Like, I don't understand, man. This will be one of the easiest offenses to run, but yet we complicate things so much by just not even consistently finding the tight end. You find the tight end, that brings the linebackers in. Now the outsides are even that much more, because you ain't got those guys out there running to go out there to try to get underneath coverages, especially when they run in cover 3 against you. Most teams are still going to run cover 2 for a bit but they're not running it as much, because Tua has proven that he can beat it. You feel me? So in these instances, now at this point, your tight end game becomes that much more crucial for you, because now if you want to move the linebackers and get them on their heels, you got to get your tight end involved. You got to get the intermediate part of your game involved. And all these things are things that need to be planned, and how they're going to integrally, fix them to improve what we already have, because Jonnu's going to be down at 30 next year, right? So, you got to have an air plan for him too. And I don't know why they just went to this other boy over Durham Smythe, man. I can't stand it. But
Julian Hill?
Yeah. I mean, that's an ego. That still feels like an ego process to me, that you would go with him. And he does have a little more athleticism, but Smythe's been the most consistent catch you've had.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, man. It's just crazy to me.
Yeah, you ain't wrong. You ain't wrong. Yeah, I mean, there's guys, when you talk about the schematic fit, you're talking about Richmond, there's guys who do things like, Shedeur Sanders is a timing and a rhythm thrower. He would make sense in this offense. They're just probably not going to be bad enough. Garrett Nussmeier makes sense, in terms of a timing and rhythm offense. Carson Beck makes sense. So there are guys, that stand out that would be a schematic fit for what this team wants to do. And then you got a guy like, who I like, Jackson Dart, who you get in the second or third round, who's a legitimate dual threat. He just threw 5 touchdowns last week against Arkansas. I think if you could groom him, see, it's all about Tua staying healthy. Right. No matter whether you draft a dual threat or a timing and rhythm passer out the gate, you need to, hopefully we can get at least a year for that kid to be groomed. And then you can reevaluate it. Tua stays healthy and you have a good problem on your hands where you're like, okay, Tua is staying healthy and playing at a high level, and we drafted a kid that we think that can play in a high level, and you can get a draft pick for however it works out. You know what I mean?
Right.
We all remember what the Patriots are doing with guys like Brissett and Jimmy Garoppolo in terms of the return on investment, right, through grooming and development, right? So, it's all about that, really, for me at least. So, sticking with the quarterback for a sec here. The Miami Dolphins today, they brought back Ryan Hayes, the offensive tackle that we brought on a couple years ago. But the Jaguars also poached QB CJ Beathard today back, and that makes Skylar Thompson the only backup option in Miami right now.
I don't understand it. I don't.
Mike White's gone. Huntley's on IR. This is our only backup option right now is Skylar Thompson. And we just finished talking about the contingency plan. Tua's already suffered 1 concussion this season. We all saw him. We all held our breath this weekend as he dove forward instead of sliding. He only lived that sliding life for 1 week. Is this again?
They don't love him. They don't like him, bro. They don't like him.
Is this malpractice again? Are we seeing multiple times malpractice on the same position in the same season right now?
Shit crazy, man. Like,
because he's so bad, right? Like, we all know.
Golly, bro. Skylar Thompson, really?
So what do you think? Do you think this is malpractice?
Yeah, but we felt. I felt this way since the very beginning, long before the season started. Like, I was never 100% convinced that Skylar Thompson was going to third, baby, your third quarterback, number 3. Yeah, maybe the number 2 guy to come in, and if something happened to your starter, finish the game out. Heck no, bro.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Brutal.
Yeah, and you said it earlier this season. Reason, he's been here 3 years. It doesn't seem like he's progressing. You've been here 3 years. Not that you got to play 40 games, but if you've been in the same system for 3 years, it seemed like you would get much more production out of that. And then when he has to step up and play, and it's not that's not the answer. And so, like you said, for him to be the second team and you don't have a third team, it's like I wouldn't feel comfortable at all. I'm like, man, we got to get this fixed, and like. And you're already in the middle of trying to dig yourself out of a hole. It's just I didn't even want to hear that. I was like, man, I didn't even look at it like that. So it's just like, man, but
3 years it is. That's what you get. Scared to throw the ball, man. Knock it off, man.
Yeah.
It
really like the backup quarterback play really affected Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. I mean, you look at through 8 games this year. Tyreek Hill has 4 catches of 25 yards or more. Jalen Waddle has 1. Last season, Tyreek Hill had 22 catches of 25 yards or more, and Jalen Waddle had 8. Like they're on pace for like 10 combined catches of 25 yards or more this year.
Not even 1,000 yards, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not even on pace for 1,000 yards right now. And Tua, just to add another layer about whether you guys think, his play is deeming the chatter to quiet around. quiet around drafting a quarterback high. Since he's returned, 80% completion percentage, 232.5 yards per game, 3 touchdowns, 0 turnovers, and a 111.2 passer rating.
He's that guy, bro.
But the Dolphins are somehow 0-2. You know why? Because their defense keeps allowing 30 points or more a game. So this week, gentlemen, prime time. We know how bad this team has been under McDaniel since 2022 in prime time. What are your thoughts on heading into the Rams game this upcoming Monday night?
I like the head coach. I think he's got a young offensive. He's one of the young guys, but his offensive mind. We're at the Rams. Like you said, prime time game. Normally, guys get up for games like that. I just got to see, bro. I think me and BallGame kind of took that approach. Last week we were rooting for him, but you can't be so involved in it to where you depressed or this and that. But they got to come to play, and that's Stafford. So he can throw the ball, move the chains, put points up, this and that, and so it's not going to be an easy feat. We got to play our best game, not only offense and defensively. We can't put those two phases of the game together. We could possibly be looking at another loss. So
it's cut back.
Yeah. I think I would like to see us continue to do what we've been doing offensively, running the ball, mixing it up, this and that. I think I was happy to see McDaniel just not go away from that when Tua came back. So we keep doing that. I think we got a legitimate shot to win, but defensively, we got to play better. We can't go, like you said, since the second quarter and not just continue to let teams put drives together. We got to get some 3-and-outs and stuff like that. We got to get some defensive stops, and if we don't get that, it's going to be really hard to win. That's what I believe.
I think. I mean, as long as Tua on the field, we got a chance. I think in terms of scoring with folk, the question mark now lies over on the opposite side of the ball, which is unfortunate because by this point they should have been dialed in enough to be able to say to some degree what they stand for and who they are and what they are actually able to achieve consistently. And that just hasn't happened. So for me, the Rams got their own struggles as well. So it's a game that can be won, right, by either team. I think that, rosters matter, but in terms of desire, right, they're not going to lay down at all. You know that. They're going to come prepared. Their coach is amazing in regards to getting them up for games and getting them prepared. The only thing they saw this year than any of the other previous years was all these injuries they've had. So that has to take some of that into account as well. But should be a good game. I think they're equally on the same plane in the same space in terms of adversity and what they've had to deal with and endure for this season. So that should make for a competitive game. But like I said, I'm not emotionally tied to these games now at this point because we lost 3. I think we could have won, and I just don't really know if they can do what needs to be done to give us some hope towards the postseason. So it is what it is. I think that I'm just going to enjoy being able to watch the game and not be stressed over it. So the Dolphins got to figure it out, man. They got to want it more than we want it for them. I mean, it's just like anything else. Success awaits everyone. Everyone ain't gonna go achieve it though.
So, Tua, he is under McDaniel. He is 3-7 in primetime games since 2022, and the Dolphins are 3-8 under McDaniel in primetime since 2022. Just an FYI.
We'll be 4-9, 4-8. Yeah, we'll go to that. Hopefully.
Yeah. And Tua has a 12 touchdown to 10 interception ratio, or
In
sorry,
prime
a
time?
13 touchdown to 10 interception ratio in prime time
Mm.
over his career.
Oh.
So, what do you think, Richmond? How do you see this one going?
I think it's a winnable game. You know, like you said, we're not the Rams are not full strength, but I do know guys get up for Monday Night Football. But I believe it's a winnable game. I think it's if we come out and play offense defensively, we should win this game. But it's going to take both parts. Offense can't put a lot of pressure on defense, study turning the ball over, and vice versa. It's time, you know, if we can get some turnovers and this and that, and like BallGame said, when you got a piece like Jalen Ramsey, move him around, put him in the best position, you know, because when you can play multiple positions like that, move him around and show up your defense where you got deficiencies when you can move a player like that around. So if both of them show up, I see the Dolphins winning. I don't have a score, but from what I saw last week, if we can continue on that path, we should be good. But I need to see it more than just last week. So, but I think we can win this game. I will say that.
What worries me is if we don't get consistent enough pressure, Stafford's going to make you pay with Puka and Cooper Kupp. And then if Sealer isn't back, how confident are we that we can slow down a guy like Kyron Williams?
We need Sealer back bad. I'm telling you, we need him back. He shores up that middle, this and that. It really helps in the run game and this and that. And
crazy how much.
Man, we need him back like 2 weeks ago. I'm like, I sure hope he can play. I love him. He's one of those guys that probably don't get a lot of attention or credit, but goes out and does his job consistently week in, week out. So yeah, I'm definitely hope he plays this game.
Final thoughts, gentlemen?
I think that, you know, the Dolphins have to really just decide for themselves that they want to prove the naysayers wrong and go and do something that's going to be damn near go achieve the almost impossible, right? And if they do, then I think that it bodes well for them long term to feel and know for themselves that they can achieve anything, right, going into next season. Because you got to start looking towards next season at this point. If they drop too many of these ones upcoming games, but go out there and leave it on the field. You know what I'm saying? Give the fans, you know what I mean? Up to this point now, it's just been a bunch of lackluster effort. Give them something. Give the people something some glimmer of hope that maybe, just maybe, you know what I'm saying, there are still some good things that come in the future. Because at this point right now, man, dropping 2 back-to-back to field goals, that sucks, man. Especially when you had chances to get that team off and potentially get them off the field and potentially win, man. It's just that sucks. And I don't know. The only way you get that taste out your mouth is by biting into a win. No matter how you get it, get a win. So,
yeah, I agree. I think you know, I keep talking about last week, but I think it felt different. I think Buffalo, even though they won the game, they knew that we actually came to play offensively. We just didn't stop them defensively. But that game had a different feel to it. And like you said, we're just making a couple of little different things to not beat ourselves. Making a play here, making a play there, that changed the whole entirety outcome of the game. And I think sometimes you need that. And I think that's where we're at now. I know we can compete with anybody. It's just how do we finish games? How, as a defense, how do we get off the field? And if we get up, how do we not let this team back in the game? So I'm hoping the last 2 weeks, you know, they feel bad enough to say, hey, okay, offense is kind of holding up their part of the game. Defense, let's get this together. Let's get this win on the road, which would be good, which would be in prime time, which is always good to play and get this thing turned around, because it always feels better after a win and lose. So that's what I'm hoping for. Yeah.
Shout out to Penn Astridge Peastry. She gifted 5 Finside the NFL memberships. Appreciate you for continuing to grow the Finside community. This will be what will the Finish Line will be back in like 2 weeks because next week I'm going. What was it? Yeah.
Where you gonna be at, player? Hold up.
Well, no, next week. No, we have an episode next week, and then that's the last episode for 2 weeks because I'm going down for the Raiders game. And then I'm going to Orlando after the game. So, so next week, next week. I got my time confused, but all right, everyone. Appreciate y'all. I'll be back tomorrow on 5 p.m. with Neil Driscoll if everything moves accordingly. For Fin Too Deep, and then we'll do the preview on Sunday. And then Monday night we got live reaction and everything going on. So we'll see y'all on the next one. Until then, you already know what time it is. Oh yeah, that's why we won't be back in a couple weeks because next Wednesday I'll be having to do the all 22 because it'll just be out. So we'll be back in a couple weeks on the Finish Line. Until then, you already know what time it is. It fins up all day, every day. We'll see y'all on the next one.
Peace out.
Now be safe out